Johnson took over for Popovich 6 games into the regular season after Popovich suffered a mild stroke. Now, Popovich steps aside after 29 seasons as head coach, is the most career wins of any coach in NBA history, and leaves with 5 NBA titles as a head coach and a gold medal for Team USA. Greg Popovich stepping aside but remaining on as team president of the San Antonio Spurs. Lakers forward LeBron James suffered a grade 2 MCL sprain in his knee late in their Game 5 loss to the Timberwolves on Wednesday. That's according to ESPN. The report says that James will need about 3 to 5 weeks to fully recover from the injury. Rockets and Warriors Game 6 tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Warriors up 3-2. Scottie Scheffler leads at the Byron Nelson during a rain delay at 12 under.
Today on the Rob Dibble Show, the Knicks wrap up the series and move on.
15 seconds left. Brunson takes a peek at the clock. Thompson digging in defensively. 8 seconds. Brunson stops on a dime. Launches. Oh, yeah! Jalen Brunson buries it. Knicks lead by 3. Cunningham to toss it in. Beasley. Harris falls down. Hardaway. Back for Cunningham. Swing it. Off the hands of Beasley. Out of bounds. Pistons turn it over. 0.4 on the clock. Detroit didn't get a shot off. The Knicks take care of business. They wrap up the series in Detroit.
Got that feeling! And now, here's Rob Dibble.
Happy Friday to everybody. We got a great show lined up for you. And that win, remember, last 2 minutes was without Karl Anthony Towns, who fouled out. Watching the game, they were down by 11 with about 3 minutes to go, and Detroit just could not close the deal. Jalen Brunson sat most of the fourth quarter till they needed him to come back in. He came back in, and he settled the game down and won it with a huge 3. But, that final fourth quarter, it was all Pistons until it wasn't. And the Knicks pull it out on the road, and it doesn't go to a Game 7.
Yeah, some big shots all through the course of the game from the Pistons to climb back in. The Knicks were on them early. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Minnesota, L.A., but just different cast of characters and definitely a different fourth quarter. But the Knicks were killing them in the first half. And then all of a sudden, Beasley is just on fire. He could not miss anything that he threw up. And a lot of that back and forth was the Detroit Pistons from beyond the arc. There was a moment like 112, 105 where the Detroit crowd is feeling themselves. And they start doing some kind of chant. I forget what it was. And then Brunson gets in for an and one. They get a stop, hit a big 3. Now it's a 2-possession game. And that crowd went from cheering like they were going to Game 7 to, oh, my gosh, we're going to lose this.
Flopper.
Yes, they were chanting the flopper.
Yeah,
right?
Brunson got kind of pushed by an arm and fell down, and then they took the foul away and went through. Again, so much of that is so bogus to shut down the game because, you know what? I want to question that foul call.
True. I hate how we got to this point.
It's brutal. Where did the game get to? But listen, Brunson was amazing. There's a couple of times he's all by himself. He's dribbling around, falling down, and he still comes up and makes an unbelievable layup. He made a couple of the best shots I've ever seen in a basketball game, and when they needed him most. I mean, yes, overall he had 40 points, but he had a lot of that in the first half. And like I said, he was sitting most of the fourth quarter. And then when Karl Anthony Towns, he was doing some damage. Then he fouls out, and it looks like okay, we got to go small against and that Duran. Or Duran for
he's been great.
The Pistons. He was great.
Yeah,
he was amazing in the second half. He was unstoppable until they started fumbling passes and the defense got better. Hart made a great play.
Yeah.
Bridges made a great shot. I mean, everybody contributed to that win in the fourth quarter when they needed a team win.
I really thought they had great ball movement in the fourth quarter, and some of those like Bridges and Hart buckets, and even Jalen Brunson. There was one where Jalen Brunson's falling out of bounds, and he finds Hart in a beautiful pass for a layup. Like there was just really good offense. I think Coach Thibodeau deserves some credit as well, especially clawing back into that game and just making it a game in the fourth quarter, then eventually winning. But my biggest thing, again, it's like deja vu for me for the Pacers and the Bucks game. The Pacers with the comeback that just stunned the Bucks into getting out of their like who they are and as being great professional basketball players. Beasley in particular, for the Bucks game, it was Trent, and they threw the ball to him, and it went right through his hands, right between the wickets and out of bounds. And if I'm any fan of the Bucks in Milwaukee, I'm not talking about Giannis. I'm not talking about the coach. I'm talking about that guy missing that pass. Like, he's just catching a pass. Last night, Cade Cunningham, great job at the end. They have an out-of-bounds play with 4 seconds left. They're down 3. Cade Cunningham and everybody and their grandma thinks he's going to take the shot. And he makes the beautiful pass to Beasley, who I said again, on fire from downtown in this game. And that guy can't even catch the ball. And it goes right through his fingertips, out of bounds, no shot even taken from the Pistons. And it's just, I can't believe we're in a place where they are special. Like, some of the shot making last night was something that I haven't seen before. Like, the NBA player now can make some shots that you wouldn't think that they would make if this was 20 years ago. Their athleticism is through the roof. They're bigger, faster, stronger. But I don't know how we get to a point where a guy can't catch a pass in the most crucial part, not of the game, of their entire season, when everything's on the line. You let it slip through your fingertips. That's a tough one to live up to, and I think it's going to be a long summer for Trent and the Bucks and Beasley of the Pistons, the way that thing ended.
Listen, Pistons have turned their
they have.
Team around.
Yeah,
I agree, but both of these teams are not like Game 7 ready. They make a lot of mistakes, a lot of unforced errors because they're nervous. I think it's emotional. I think it's mental. When you're there so often and you get 50, 75, 100 playoff games to where that pass you expect to pass. I don't think Beasley really expected that pass at the end unless it was written up that way. And
no, you're right.
Looking
you're right.
to shoot before he caught the ball. And listen, I agree with you. You gotta catch that. You gotta execute, or you don't. And the Knicks win because they were not able to execute. But once again, I will talk about the bench. New York Knicks, 6 points.
Dang.
Detroit, 31 off the bench.
Yeah.
Beasley had much of that with his 6 for 13. But, New York's going to get up against another team that scores 30, 40 off the bench, and they're not going to win. And they're going to wonder why. And it's like, you've got to be able to pull some dudes off of your bench. Schroeder is outstanding for the Pistons. Beasley's outstanding. Knicks have to find more help off the bench, and they're not getting the kind of effort that you want. And most of these other guys are playing 40 minutes. And I'll tell you what, Bridges, 25. Anunoby, yeah. Anunoby, 22. Brunson, 40. Now, Cat had 10, but he had 15 rebounds. So he was more of a rim protector last night, and then Hart threw in 13. I mean, it's great scoring from your starting 5, but really weak off the bench. And this is just the first round. As we get deeper, and then you're going to come up against possibly the Celtics in the finals of the conference, that's going to be tough on you if you want to go 6 or 7 games and you're not getting a lot from your 6, 7, 8 guys.
Well, they got the Celtics next. They don't have to wait for the finals. There will be Cavs, Pacers on top, and then it will be Celtics, Knicks on bottom of that Eastern Conference bracket. And the Boston Celtics may have the 6th man of the year in Peyton Pritchard. I mean, this guy can score you. I think he had a 40 this year, right? And didn't he have a 40-point game?
I think he did.
And then he can shoot from downtown. Sam Hauser, I'm not a big fan. Luke Cornett, I'm not a big fan. But they have got playoff minutes under their belt. They've won a championship with this team. I think these Boston Celtics are very deep, but I think this is going to be a decent series. It depends on the health of Tatum and Brown. I think they're going to be ready to go. They got a little bit more of a breather than the Knicks. I think their series with the Magic wasn't even close to being the physical series that we saw in Detroit with the Knicks, but I think it's still going to be a decent series. But you're right. Whose bench will come to play? Yep. And right now, I'm leaning towards the Boston Celtics in this one.
Pritchard's got a 34 in there, a 43 in there, a lot of mid-20s in there. So you talk about a 6th man coming to work. And, plus you need these snipers. But Beasley was fantastic.
Yeah.
Not to take anything away. Yes, he choked on that last play. But they did really well defensively in that fourth quarter to get back in it, take the lead, and then blow it open. And like you said, the crowd had a lot to do with it. The crowd was as electric as you can imagine with 5 minutes to go, high-fiving after they took the lead, like they were making the threes. They were making the stuffs. It was amazing how excited they were. And, if you want to keep that feeling, you got to be consistently in the postseason, and hopefully Detroit keeps most of this roster together and builds on it for next year.
I expect the trash talk to be on high in Boston and in New York for this upcoming series starting this weekend. We're going to have 2 Game 7s in the city of Denver, with the Clippers beating the Nuggets last night and the Avs and Stars moving to a Game 7. I think it's on the same night. I think it might be on the same night. I don't know how that's going to work out, but the Clippers, man, if Harden wants to turn it up on offense and Kawhi wants to play his kind of basketball, this is a really good team. It's a really good team that could knock off the Denver Nuggets. We shall see. But I did see this story, and I don't know what to think of it. Mike Trout's already on the IL. Man.
He's become brittle and fragile.
It's rough. It's rough. He was once the best player in baseball.
Yep.
He was once the guy that Manfred said, you need to market yourself if you want to be a star. And now he's just getting a frequent flyer mile at the training room. And once again, you're not going to see Mike Trout. And the Angels ain't going anywhere. Doubt he's going to play any playoff games anytime soon.
Well, the Angels aren't horrible this year. That's the one solid thing. But when you've got other players that don't really want to be out there, and Rendon happens to be one of them that you paid a ton of money to, it's hard for a guy of Trout's ilk to push himself. He can't play center field anymore.
Yeah.
He wants to be the star, but he's just not the star anymore. And it's a hodgepodge of guys that some of them. I thought they did a nice job bringing in Kikuchi, Kyle Hendricks from the Cubs. Those are guys that are pitchers. I don't know how deep they're going to get, with that division. But, right now Seattle's leading that division. They're young. They're young and hungry. I think that's the way a lot of these teams have tried to build themselves for the future. But 2 years ago, Seattle looked great. Last year, not so much. This year, a much better start for them in the first 30 games. But, yeah, the Angels, you're not going anywhere. Yeah, they brought in Travis d'Arnaud as well from the Braves, who's got a lot of world championship pedigree and also playoff experience as your backup catcher.
Some more IL news. The Yankees placed Jazz Chisholm on the 10-day IL. You were talking about this with Giancarlo Stanton. You didn't mention Jazz or anything, but usually when you move someone to a 60-day IL, like the Yanks did yesterday, you're making room on your IL for perhaps someone else. Jazz Chisholm is going to fill that 10-day void for the New York Yankees. Oblique is what was cited, oblique injury.
So Stanton goes to the 60. You don't expect him back till the All-Star game. DJ LeMahieu is on the IL right now on the 10. You only have a certain amount of guys that you can put on the 10. I hate it. It should be either 2 weeks or a month for an extended period of time. Like I said, Stroman's on the 15-day IL, so he has to miss at least 3 starts before he could come back. There's a reason why you had a certain length of time for these kind of things. Listen, we know Chisholm's not hitting well.
Right.
Maybe he'll stop using the torpedo bat. Maybe that's why he's got an oblique problem, because it's an odd bat, kind of like Stanton. People don't want to talk about Stanton using this in the postseason last year. Kicked ass with it, but it blew out his elbows. So it's like, okay, you're not used to that kind of weight at the end. It's a little bit different bat. I'm not saying that's what caused these injuries. Could be his age as well and all the different things he does in the weight room. But for Chisholm, this is a time to miss less than 2 weeks. Get your head right. You could call it an oblique. God, you could call it foot fasciitis for all I care. But I think that this is the kind of stuff that helps organizations instead of being a bonus for the other teams like the Red Sox. Baltimore Orioles would love to have a couple of weeks not seeing Jazz Chisholm out there for the Yankees. I'm sure Tampa Bay. So a lot of these teams, it benefits the Yankees mostly for this guy to get his head right.
Yankees will start a series with the Tampa Bay Rays, 6:25 with the pregame 7:05 first pitch on these Rob Dibble Show stations. Max Fried going to get on the hill tonight, who's 5-0 and cruising for a Cy Young right now. Is looking better than anybody in bigs. Boston Red Sox will be at home in Fenway Park with a Twins series this weekend. Brian Bayo, one of Kurt's buds, going to be running on the mound tonight.
Another dreadful outing by the Red Sox bullpen last night.
Yeah, they lost another one to the Jays.
Had the lead until you didn't have the lead, and Vlad Guerrero Jr. steps up there. I think it was the 8th inning where he hit a 3-run Johnson. But Bregman continues to swing the bat really well. Devers is continuing to swing the bat really well. I just think that, you're wasting these good starts. Tanner Houck was fantastic.
Tanner Houck's getting used to this.
Dude, 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, no walks, 6 strikeouts. The only run was on a home run. So basically you would say he missed 1 pitch. And Berrios was great. Couple earned runs, almost 7 innings. He gets 20 outs, and then the bullpen does the job for the Blue Jays. So right now it's always usually going to come down to a battle of the bullpen since nobody completes games anymore. It's just I saw a stat yesterday that was so disturbing while we were on the air. Mets are worst in baseball in innings started, meaning they have the lowest amount of innings by their starters this year, 5.2, which means basically the last 12 or 11 outs of every game comes down to your bullpen. And that's not going to win you championships when the last 12 outs are going to come down to your bullpen. So I know they've got starting problems. Their rotation is really banged up. But for the Mets to be where they are right now and the starters not going deep into games, I think it's impressive on their defense and on their bullpen.
For the Red Sox, it was Justin Slaughton to fill that void in that last inning against the Blue Jays that gave up the 3 runs. And they have Aroldis Chapman. He's kind of penciled in as your 8th inning guy. Liam Hendricks just getting back to form. He's really not your end of the rotate or the end of the staff kind of guy. But what would the Red Sox do? Is this like a platoon thing? Is this like a let's see who's better by the end of May and then that person's got the job?
Like I said, 50 games in, but like you just said, Liam just came back after missing almost 2 years. I just think, listen, I don't mind old closers. I mind that you keep changing the guys that bridge the gap. Last couple of years, they've had some decent guys. You've used them as spot starters and thrown some of these guys into the rotation. But at the end of the day, it's the starters that put the pressure on the bullpen. The starters have to do more. They have to go in the 6th and 7th inning a lot. Houck did that last night where you're thinking, okay, we got to get the last 6 outs and we get a win here. You just have to do that. Do your job. And Slaughton didn't do the job last night. So I joke, thanks for coming if you're Tanner Houck, but Tanner Houck goes back to locker room after the game. He's got to be disgusted because he put in some great work and he had been struggling. And a lot of people were like, oh, my God, Houck, what's wrong with that guy? Listen, dude, you're 6 starts into your season. You're going to make another, 28 starts. Give the guy a break. Everybody is presses the panic button, but I thought last night was great. The ball movement for Houck was great. It was just unfortunate that they couldn't get the win.
So they'll take on the Twins this weekend. You brought up the Mets and their pitching woes. They have Clay Holmes starting, who is their opening day
former
starter.
Yankee closer.
Former Yankee closer.
I mean, yes, like Michael King, converted, doing a great job, but I always look at when does he run out of gas?
Well, he's 3-1 right now. He's got less than a 3 ERA. They're in St. Louis, and it's a sunny gray day. Who is 3-0 on the year and looking pretty good as a Cardinal right now. But that one will start at 8:15 today. No afternoon baseball in the pros. There is some afternoon baseball in college, as there always is. A afternoon affair that's just ending the first inning right now. UConn is taking on Villanova in a 3-game series. We'll be watching that one as the show goes on. UConn women's softball, or should I just say softball? Drop the women. UConn softball with a big series on the campus's stores. St. John's and UConn tied for first in the Big East, so they're going to get started tonight with that series. Just a bunch of stuff going on, man. I know the Yard Goats are at home this weekend. Hopefully the weather cooperates. I know did your Reds play last night? I know they got postponed at the beginning of the game.
I don't know, but my daughter's supposed to play 5 games in a The jamboree tomorrow,
Is
lacrosse
it inside
jamboree.
or outside?
Outside, and it's supposed to rain all day. Supposed to rain all day, and she's playing from like 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock. It's crazy.
There you go.
So,
No, they did get that game. They won 9-1. Man, why aren't you a Jose Trevino fan yet? 2-run home run last night. God, he is Mr. Red all of a sudden.
I'm not so sure about that guy. give me a whole season or two. Hey, just wanted to mention this. Greg Popovich is going to go upstairs to the president's job. He is no longer going to coach the San Antonio Spurs. And the fan that fell, as we talked about yesterday, from the second deck at the Pittsburgh Stadium, he's still in critical condition. Yeah. So we hope he pulls through and makes a miraculous recovery.
Yeah, PNC Park. It's just a travesty. We've seen some of those pictures are rough, too. And the Pirates Cubs, are we still doing it today? I don't know how this series works. I'm trying to figure it all out as far as the Thursdays and the Fridays and the series, the 4 games versus the 3 games. But we got a lot of stuff going on, man. A lot of baseball in the afternoon.
Is it Grande or Grand that was scratched from the Kentucky Derby?
Rodriguez was scratched.
Well, Grande now has been scratched as well.
What?
So the field is down to 19.
No.
Yes. So just posted it.
Grande horse.
Yep.
Scratched. Owner shocked. No way. Now there's down to. Well, does that make 19 or 21? I'm seeing 19 in the field, but still, we had 21.
We had 21. Rodriguez is gone, and Grande is gone. And possibly Render Judgment has a cut.
What?
So, yeah. So Toby Keith's horse has a cut. We'll have to wait and see.
How does this happen? Why are they in bubble wrap? Who's letting these horses run
I don't know.
wild
Maybe
out
they're
there?
kicking each other.
They go in the strip club at night?
Good.
Come on, man. We got to get in the stable and get a rest.
Usually they have like a goat or a pig or something else, a dog in there with them.
I don't know.
Into that nasty part of the barn where you really shouldn't go, but he's like, oh, no, I'm going to go out there.
Exactly, Kurt. Yeah, with the workhorses. Don't be hanging out with those horses. You're better than that. Render and Judgment.
You are who the company you keep.
It's true. Render Judgment. He's a party animal.
Yeah, he maybe wants to be a plow horse. maybe he wants to pull a buggy.
He is like the dentist in the Christmas movie. He doesn't want to make toys. He just wants to be a dentist. He doesn't want to run races. He just wants to, pull a buggy.
He wants to pull a bunch of teeth. Man, I got no problem with that.
I'm rooting for him, yeah.
We got another trivia game today, so stay tuned for that as well. This is 50-50 today, right?
Fish or horse, our favorite game, back on a Friday. Can't wait. We got more Bryan Adams tickets, and we got more tickets to Back to the Future, the musical.
Yeah, because yesterday was an Ofer, and we don't like Ofer days. All right, Adam Giardino is waiting patiently right now on hold. He is our UConn Sports Network guy, knows everything about UConn Sports because he covers everything at UConn Sports. And so we'll talk to Adam G coming up next. We got Al G coming up at 4:25 to give you all the sports from New York City, including the Knicks and them moving on to the next round. So Al Catullo next hour, Adam Giardino next. It's the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive on a Friday. Thank you so much. Please be careful around Hartford. A lot of traffic, an overturned oil tanker. And Kurt Kaplan, as always, on the ones and twos.